And welcome back to another little vignette on how the overinflated stock market could affect your retirement security. So today we're going to really just briefly talk about what's happening with the stock market and how this might have a negative effect on your overall financial plan or financial security. Let's start off by just talking about what's going on with the economy today as a whole. Current stock market valuations, at least according to Wall Street, what they'll tell you is, well, keep investing. The market has no top. All right, this is a new time. All those old valuations don't even matter. The economy is on a rebound. Everything's looking up. Unemployment rates have gone down. Corporate profits are up. And what they're going to tell you is that don't worry. Doesn't this sound like a little bit like what we've seen in the past? Who has a good memory of what it felt like in 2007 when Wall Street and the media was telling us the same? How about back in 1999? Well, we remember that. The old valuations don't matter. That happened many times in our past, and we should learn from history. Technically, the economy has not gotten back to a safe place. We are only 50% of where it should be. And unemployment, that's another joke within itself. What the government does and how they report unemployment does not necessarily mean that's how many people are still either unemployed or have gone back to work. For one, it doesn't include it because those people that have not even applied for unemployment or they've gone off unemployment doesn't count those. In addition, we see 200,000, 300,000, 50,000 new jobs added to the economy. What does that really mean? It means absolutely nothing unless those jobs that are added to the economy are providing more income. You can't take somebody off the books that's making $100,000 a year, add somebody that's $25,000 a year earning in the service or restaurant or retail industry and say our economy is getting better. It's not getting better. The numbers are good, but sometimes numbers lie. Corporate profits, as reported after depreciation and amortization, is very different than actual corporate profits. Because what you can do is you can take depreciation and amortization, and then you can deduct that from those corporate profits. And you have to look at it before or after. What I'm saying is question what Wall Street is reporting and how they're reporting it. They are masters at deception and deception for their own benefit. And then finally, keep in mind, a lot of the soldiers of Wall Street are those financial advisors that are out there. Compare what you are told by financial advisors to what really has happened. Here's a great example. Geometric returns versus or opposed to arithmetic returns. What is the difference? Well, geometric return is an average of the end of the year returns. Arithmetic returns are the actual money that you have. Okay, let's just take a little example here, and I'm going to outline this for you. Let's say that you start off in both comparisons with $100,000 under a geometric or $100,000 under arithmetic. The first year, the market loses 20%. Well, you would be at $80,000 under both scenarios, right? Well, the next year, the way they compute it says, well, the market went up 25%. Well, at a 25% increase, you're just back to zero under both scenarios. Now, the next year, let's say the market loses 20%. Well, now you're back down to $80,000 a year. Many of you have lived this for the last 3 to 5 years. And then the next year, you're up by 40%. So, wow, after the end of 4 years or 5 years, at the end of 4 years, the beginning of 5 years, you've got $112,000 under both scenarios. You would think that the average rate of return would be the same. The arithmetic rate of return is only 3%, whereas the actual geometric return, as is reported by most mutual funds, most stockbrokers, most financial advisors, is a whopping 25%. So when people ask other advisors, they'll say, what was your rate of return? They come back and say, well, I got an average rate of return of 25%. Doesn't necessarily mean that you made 25% on your money. You might have only made 3%. So it's very important that you understand that. So how is your financial advisor really reporting rates of returns? Have you asked them? Have they been very forthright with that number? That's a question that you should ask them. So let's talk about how the stock or bond market could actually destroy your retirement. In the growth or accumulation phase of your retirement, assuming no withdrawals, major drops in the market will not affect long-term performance because you don't really need to get any money out. So financial advisors typically will tell you that the markets have performed at an average of around 8%. We're going to look at what the truth of this really is. Now we're going to take a look at the real truth. I'm going to show you what the difference of actually retiring and taking income versus accumulating income in the stock market. Now, the first place I want to go, and you can follow right along with this, is to Yahoo Finance, and you'll see that right here. You can go to Yahoo Finance, and I'm going to look up the S&P 500, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the last a number of years of prices. We're going to show an actual rate of return. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, say, October of, let's use 2007, and then we'll go to the current prices as of today. As a matter of fact, I'm going to actually go back a little bit. We're going to actually give the benefit of the doubt to the S&P 500. As you can see right here, the S&P 500 today that I'm doing this is 1815.69. We're going to go to March 3rd. So the beginning price of the S&P 500 is 1545, and we'll use an ending amount of 1857. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to a real simple financial calculator program, and you can look this up yourself if you want. It's called Dinkytown. I know it's a funny name. And once you get past the name, it's actually a pretty good site. It's called dinkytown.com, dinkytown.com, Dinkytone. And I'm going to start by putting in what the S&P 500 price was on 10/3/2007 at 1,546. And now the price today, well, forgive me, not today, but March 3rd, 2014 is 1,857.68. Okay, so no additional deposits. Let's take a look. As you can see here, the S&P 500 has actually produced an arithmetic rate of return of 2.905%. Now, you've obviously learned the difference between geometric return and arithmetic return. That's not quite what the stockbrokers or Wall Street wants you to see, is it? I'm going to take this one step further because I am assuming that if you are watching this educational video, you are also a person that is retired. Now, let's take a look at what happens with the stock market returns when you actually take money out of the stock market. We're going to use that same number starting 10/3/2007. Let me just tell you what I did. I took all the prices from the S&P 500 on a monthly basis, and I input them into a spreadsheet by the dates. Then what I did is I actually took, and you can see this here, I'll just highlight this. I took the rate of return that you would be taking out, and let's assume you took a 5% distribution rate. So that means that you would have $7.74 in income per month, assuming you invested $1,549 in 2007. Now, the problem with this is that if you, in fact, did take out that $7.74, when the market drops, you now have to sell an asset in order to get money out at the same time. So we're going to make that a little bit easier for you to see. So what I did was I created a chart that would allow you to see what the effect of the stock market is on your money. Now, what I'd like you to see is the red line is assuming you invested in the stock market and assuming you did not take anything out at all. As you can see, you started with the $1,589. You ended up with the $1,872. That would be what, 4, 5, 6, 7 years later. So you actually had a 6.8% rate of return. But now when you're retired, what happens? Well, as that market drops, then you have to sell shares and take a loss on those shares. So look at this. You actually never recover. The money is actually worth less in the end than it is when what you started with, even though it made a rate of return. Let's just take this one step further and take a look at what happens to your money net after inflation. I'm going to highlight this column so you can see that even though your money is lost money over that period of time, it's even worse when you compound it with inflation. So we're just going to go out a simple, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and all of a sudden, can bring this down here so you can see it. Your money at the end of 7 years is worth in today's dollars. Remember, you invested $1,589. It is worth $928 because of the loss of the stock market, having to take money out at a loss plus inflation. And that concludes today's educational video on can the stock market have a dramatic effect on your retirement safety?